Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me, Dr. Scarlett Smash, on my podcast, Dancing in Pink Hiking Boots. We are here on this glorious day to talk about our thoughts, feelings, ideas on different life topics, and the emotions we feel as we go through life. I believe in the power of sharing for inner peace. We all need friends, support groups, and a community. We need help in how to be mindful of our thoughts and feelings. I am not a licensed therapist. I'm a marine conservation outreach scientist that has a lot of opinions, experiences, and has been on a lifetime journey to find a peaceful mind and happiness. I believe in the power of thought, deep reflection, and vulnerability. I will share my thoughts, feelings, experiences, and my soul-searching journeys with you. Thank you for joining. Today I have Nikita Shiel-Rolle, and she is the founder and CEO of Young Marine Explorers. She also is the owner of Cat Island Mermaid. Oh my gosh, you're just like the owner of everything, which we want to get more into because your entrepreneurship is inspirational. But we're going to be talking about colonialism and conservation. Now, I'm not going to say much because she is going to rant and it's going to be spectacular and it's going to be wonderful because we just had a little conversation before and I said, okay, oh my gosh, everyone needs to hear everything that you're saying. So first, Nikita, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you could just start off with giving a little bit of your background and who you are and what makes you so interesting and diverse and capable of talking about this subject.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikita Shiel-Rolle, and I am joining you today from the island originally known as Guanima, which is currently known as Cat Island and is one of the 700 islands within the Bahamas. I'm a diverse creature. My mom is Irish, so she's a very white woman with red hair, and my dad is Black. He's a very Black man, and I am a mix in between. I also have my last name, Rolle. So I have a Shiel-Rolle is my last name, my mother's maiden name, and my father's surname. My father's surname, Rolle, was inherited from the slave owner who owned my ancestors. And from my Irish heritage, my great-grand-uncle was an oblate Catholic priest in Canada during the time of the residence schools and was part of the genocide that took place to Indigenous people in Canada.
Wow.
So I find, yes, it's, there's a lot. So I'm in this really unique position where in my blood, I have the ancestral DNA of people who were stolen from their homes, taken across the Atlantic and sold and being considered less than human. And also in my DNA, I have the history of the Catholic Church and what Catholic priests did to Indigenous people in Canada, where the residence schools, if you're not familiar, I encourage you to read up on them. But essentially, it was trying to brainwash Indigenous people to forget their culture, to assimilate more into the white Canadian culture.
Wow.
So it's an interesting position to be in.
Yeah.
And at the most recent climate change conference of the parties, I participated as an observer for the Indigenous Peoples and Local Communities platform, where I was, I believe, one of the only representatives of a local community.
Really?
And
Oh my goodness.
because most of the people there were from Indigenous tribes. So the majority of the participants were from Indigenous tribes, whereas from small island communities and just local communities in general, the UN hasn't really defined what that means. And so we have a lot of work to do when it comes to working on the international stage and ensuring that the most vulnerable people in the world right now, because of the climate crisis that we are in, are represented. And so it was an incredible experience to share that space with so many Indigenous leaders and healers. And I learned so much from that. But then it also really helped to position me and my work as I started to learn more about my history and my ancestral history of, being in this interesting place, being half white and half Black, having, both oppressor and oppressed heritage. It really sets the stage for the work that I do.
And you experienced that too. You're capable of experiencing both sides, I bet.
Absolutely. And I think this is what's really unique for people from mixed backgrounds or biracial, if you prefer to use that term, where you don't really fit in. So for example, with my Black Bahamian cousins, I was considered the white person. If you see my picture, you'll see that I am not white, but we were always sort of the white family. And also, with my white family, we were always the Black family. And it actually wasn't until I came to school in the United States that I realized that, oh, wait, no, I was actually Black, because in the Bahamas, I wasn't really considered Black. It was like, I'm red or I'm yellow. But especially growing up, I was never really allowed to own the word Black because I wasn't dark enough. So it's just, there's this intersection between race and class and culture is something that for those of us in conservation, we really need to dive into and explore.
I'd like to say that probably a lot of our listeners kind of need to understand what that exploring is about. You know what I mean? Why are we exploring it? Why would it be best for conservation? Also, how did colonialism affect the local people and conservation?
Okay, so I'm going to say some things, and I'm just going to preface this by saying, if you feel uncomfortable by what I say, I think that's awesome. And reach out to me and let's talk, because the conservation world is a white space predominantly.
Well, I mean, the science field started very
Absolutely.
male and white, right?
Well,
and kind of the culture itself kind of still feels like that, right?
absolutely. And I was going to, so before I dive into responding to that, I'm just going to say there's no such thing as conservation without social justice. So if you are in the conservation field and you're uncomfortable talking about race and class and prejudice, you need to reconsider where you are and the work that you're doing. And like I said, if this and what I'm about to say makes you feel uncomfortable, that's okay, because this uncomfort is the beginning of us working through all these challenges. And so going back to what you said about science.
Go ahead, continue. I don't want to stop you. I want to get involved, but I don't want to stop you. So go ahead, continue.
So just going back, I mean, it starts from Charles Darwin. Think about Charles Darwin, who honestly, my homeboy, like graduated from the University of Edinburgh. I did. He dropped out. Both of us were Zoological Society of London Fellows. So, and I also spend a lot of time in the Galapagos. So Charles Darwin, definitely my homeboy, but also lots of issues there. But his model of science, that model of those very early days of the naturalists that we have documented, that we use in our